Welcome to the Empowered Money Girl, where we break down the barriers to financial confidence, celebrate women's wins, and reveal the secrets to living boldly and well. I'm your host, Josette Mandela. Today's guest is Catharine Montgomery, founder of Better Together Agency, a communications firm based in the Washington, D.C. area that serves clients nationwide. After facing bias and systemic barriers throughout her own entrepreneurial journey, Catharine built Better Together Agency to help organizations communicate more thoughtfully and inclusively. Her agency also became the first U.S. communications firm to conduct a national study on generative AI bias. Her work has been featured in Forbes, Her Agenda, and the New School Changemakers. And she's leading important conversations about ethics, innovation, and creating technology that works better for everyone. If you're ready to explore how AI bias impacts business, leadership, and our future, you're going to love this conversation. Please welcome the insightful, pioneering, and purpose-driven Catharine Montgomery.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that bio there. I guess I sent it. Yeah. I should use it again.
So, thank you so much for joining us today. So, can you take us back to the beginning? What was your path like that got you to where you are today?
Of course. Yeah. So I grew up in Alabama, which is very interesting. I get all the time kind of looks, although I've met a few people lately who actually know where I'm from in rural Alabama. But started in Alabama, I went and worked at a lot of different large agencies, the Edelmans and Porter Novelli, Burson, and I absolutely loved the hustle of it, the long hours actually. But there was a time where I wanted to focus more on social impact and helping others while also working at an agency. And I actually couldn't find that in DC. I know of one agency that is like that in DC. So I ended up moving to Boston and worked at a progressive agency there. Doing absolutely amazing work is what I was looking for. But that systemic racism happened there. And so eventually I ended up working with different organizations on different campaigns like Fair Fight Action, doing kind of things on my own. And then I ran into investors who wanted to invest in a PR communications agency in the US. They had other agencies globally. I started to work with them, and then last year it just went downhill. And there's a lot behind, working with investors and a lot of benefits. I didn't have the knowledge of what to look for investors, what um, financially, yeah, to be behind the scenes and know what was going on. And so I don't want to dissuade people from working with investors. Just knowing and learning from what I went through, I think would be really helpful. So last year in May, I quit the company, which, another thing is never give majority stake to investors. And I started Better Together Agency. The other agency was Better Together. Um, and I knew they didn't have the funds to fight me on the name, so I just went with it. So it's really been a little over a year that I've had this company and gone through like the new Better Together, I'll say.
So, yeah, tell us a little about that. I mean, don't name any names or anything because
Mhm.
it doesn't really matter. But how how would you, looking back now, if somebody was thinking, I think I'd like to get involved with some investors to help me move my business to that next level because I can't seem to really get the funding myself, but some people have approached me. How would you go about looking at that relationship and what things would you have done differently?
Yeah, I actually wasn't thinking about starting an agency. I, was in a place after I left the agency with the racist situation, trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I was on this Slack channel called Ladies Get Paid, and it's about 50,000 women from around the world just, asking questions, helping each other. And a recruiter posted that the VC firm wanted to expand to the US and they only back public relations agencies. And so I thought that was weird because you don't need funding, you just need to get business, get a client, and then started your agency. But I was like, what the heck, I can do it. And so I met with them, and one of the investors, we knew some of the same people from an agency we had both worked at. The other lives in Germany, and he was asking much tougher questions like, how are you going to have an agency solely focused on social impact? And I had literally found out about this opportunity that week. So I was like, I have no idea. Like, I'm sure it can happen or work. And then how much money you're going to make in the first year. And I had no idea what the normal was. But anyway, after a couple months of talking, we decided to move forward. And I think my mind was more set on what my salary was going to be, with the investors, more so than what are the behind the scenes finances that are taking place. Like, I found out that they actually took a loan out on the agency. And so everything I was spending, I was paying off on that loan each month that I had no idea was happening. And we did have a CFO who I meet with once a month, and it would be mostly like, these are your clients. This is how much money you're making. This is, you can hire this number of employees, or you probably need to not hire right now. Things like that. It wasn't, really the minutia of what QuickBooks looked like, different things like that. Like, I should have not been like, oh, I'll get the clients. I got all that. I can do the sales, but you have to as a business owner, you have to want to know about everything, and finances is included in that. I even had the CFO say to me, yeah, I know you're not good at finances. You're good at sales. And looking back, I'm like, how do you just make that assumption and say things like that? I think now that I'm doing my own finances, you have to, learn about it and know about it. So I think that was a major misstep on my end. And also, I didn't have any lawyer check like contracts or anything like that. Like, it puzzles me right now. Like, now I'm like, what the world was I doing? I just thought I also have this thing where I think everybody's coming from a good, helpful position. And I would never think that someone was who I don't know is going to hurt me. And have like been challenged on that thought so much, but I just don't understand it. Like, if you don't know someone, they haven't done anything to you, why would you purposefully go out and try to do harm to them? So those are some of the learnings, especially the ownership part. Do not let anyone take ownership of your company, majority stake.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right. A lot of times when you're starting to grow and you decide to get that outside money, it's a new thing. So you don't even know what are the questions I should be asking. And then, like you said, you assume that people are going to have your best interests at heart. And it turns out, yeah, not always.
Yeah, I know. And it'd be helpful for them too, if
Mhm.
if they had been honest, I was honest, then it would have worked out in the end, and there would have been more than 2 years of better together. And now changing the agency. But they did go bankrupt, just so you know, which I'm glad about because I didn't want my logo or anything associated with the old agency. So we were able to get that kind of out of the way, which is good.
So as you mentioned, in that scenario, they um, clearly didn't really have a good grasp of the market they had gotten into, and they were relying on your expertise to make all of that work. So when you finally realize that this isn't what I signed up for, well, maybe it was, but it's not really what I signed up for, and left the agency, the whole thing imploded in a very short while.
Yeah, they actually thought that one of the employees um, could step into the CEO role. And I think the only reason is because she's a Black woman. And they thought, oh, like any Black woman can do, can run this agency. And, it's just social impact like that, is fine. Just like, this is so crazy how disconnected people are with reality. Um, but yeah, I remember I was in Toronto, and I was like, I am too concerned about these two white men, just to be really honest, and not on the mission of the agency. And I just can't do this. I was going to buy them out, and they took credit cards away. They took my bank account access away. I couldn't even pay employees. And so it was just horrible. It was like, I'm not going to just bow down to these men. Like, I've created this amazing organization helping so many people. So I had to look out what was best for me in that time.
So when you finally decided, okay, we're done, you did a little research and realized that they can't um, they can't go after me if I decide to make a little tweak to the name, but basically keep the name. What did that day after look like when you said, okay, I'm done with those people. This is really what I want to do. Okay, time to get started on my new old vision.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I felt so empowered, I think. I wasn't, I can tend to be a person who just moves from one thing and is like, okay, that was a challenge. Like, okay, let's just move on. Like, not even really thinking about it, which isn't definitely taking time to think about what happened and where you're going is very important. So I woke up feeling, I had a new client, potential client waiting. The other clients, the investors had harassed them so much that they had to leave and couldn't work with either agency. So I was starting from nothing. And I thought, well, I mean, I did it before, like I can just do it now. And it's so amazing how just having the funds to go to conferences, to meet people all the time for different lunches and all that kind of stuff makes such a difference when it comes to, well, everybody knows that when it comes to getting business, but I didn't have that. And so even with like the client coming along and all that kind of stuff, it takes a lot of money to run a business. And so I mean, it has been so tough. I mean, I felt so empowered, but it's also a very challenging learning experience, like nothing like I had gone through with the investors. So I did have a partner who helped me with like setting up everything and bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. So that was very, very helpful. Um, I don't know if I had to do it just on my own, I would have like continued. Maybe I would have like had it on the side something and then had a full-time job.
And so if if a woman finds herself in that situation, um, and the the thing that she built and thought was doing well, and then all of a sudden one day the rug gets pulled out from under her, whether it's a investor situation or something else that she hadn't recognized and asked enough questions for. Would your suggestion be that she get a new job, or how would you suggest that she kind of look at that situation, maybe step back from it, and where you go next?
Yeah, that's so hard to say. I knew this was my passion and I felt like my purpose. And so I wanted to, I also just had that mindset of if I can do it before, I can do it again. I don't know that that was necessarily the holistic looking at everything from all angles and figuring out like, is this what I need to go into like this quick, or do I need to take a second and think about like how much is going to cost to run a business, how likely can I get business, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know that if you're in a circumstance where you don't have to immediately get a job and you can kind of focus on those things and figure it out and then get a job if you think that's best, I would say so. But just thinking about getting a job, just it was like nasty. It was just like, that is like, I cannot imagine reporting to someone other than a client. It just seemed like the oddest thing, but sometimes you have to do it. But I would take a long thought about it, and really think about what will fulfill you. Um, and if that means continuing with your company, starting a new one, or and at the same time looking for a job, there's a lot of opportunity.
And that is a great way to look at it, is to sometimes you do need to take a step back and say, is this really what I'm on this earth to do? Or maybe I need
Yeah.
to look at something else. In your case, you knew this is it. I am going to make this work. And you have.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I also want to mention that um, I didn't really feel like I failed, but I know a lot of people can feel that way, and that can lead to hesitation of moving forward with a company if you've gone through something really tough. So, um, also just having that different mindset of what did I learn from this and what could I have done differently and what am I going to do moving forward, than thinking like what did I do wrong, just over and over and over, but more of a positive lens.
So would you consider that you're still in that rebuild phase?
Oh, yes, for sure. I didn't know that was a question or not, but yes, for sure. It's just very, very different with starting over. And I don't know, I think really well, there are a couple reasons, but I think one is having honestly indispensable funds. Like you have a credit card. They didn't give me funding as in seed A, round A, that kind of thing, but having a credit card, we can go to conferences, you can apply for all these awards, all that kind of stuff. But also, and I, don't want to be political, but there's no way to not say the administration and backing away from, DEI saying everything's woke, like that had a big influence in how companies were actually supporting social impact causes. So, I never used the term DEI, but it all evolved around, equity and inclusion and what we were doing. So when you go to a company, a corporation, and they're like, where are my funds going? It's not going to immediately be that they want to save the environment or, feed the homeless, which is so unfortunate. Um, because a lot of them could have stuck with their mission of doing that if they had framed it in a different way. They didn't use the banned words, although woman is on the list. So, but anyway, it was a culmination of things that I think were happening. And this year, I started talking to a lot of women, and they were saying the same thing about last year. And it was so interesting. It's like when we need each other, we're not really talking to each other about it, and then we all meet and we're like, oh, I was going through that. And it's like we need that community when we're going through those situations, kind of even a little bit more than when everything's okay. So just knowing that other people were going through that and we could support each other after, definitely helped as well when this year started.
So as you mentioned, it seems like ever since COVID, there's been a lot of um, banned words or
Yeah.
concepts that have come gone. Oh wait, no, that was last week. Now it's this. How do you navigate all that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I first started the agency, it was kind of companies were still in that phase of, George Floyd was murdered. Then there was like that I don't, want Trump kind of thing. And then there was a Biden, like which they supported DEI causes. And so it was good for companies to voice that they, were supporting those type of causes. So that's another thing is like it was so easier to get clients that way because it was something they needed to do to get funding, to get, in the White House and get bills passed and all of that good stuff. So it's kind of once that administration changed, kind of the perceptions changed as well. And companies were like, oh, we need to donate because, you know, that's what it's cool right now. And so it hasn't I feel like it's getting a little bit better this year in that there's not as much conversation about how bad, helping the world is. Although it seems like that's in the news every day. I think kind of behind the scenes, companies are kind of opening up more.
So because of all the drama, if you will, around those kind of topics, Is it hard to find clients, or do they come to you and say, "Hey, we kind of like what we've been seeing from you in your posts or other avenues that you might be running across people, and how do we work with you?"
Yeah, it is difficult finding clients. Some come to me, some I find in random places. There's not as many referrals nowadays. Like I had one friend who was going on a walk with her friend, and her friend needed a comms agency to support women's health. And so it's like those kind of conversations I don't feel like are happening as much, but the business comes from different places, people who I've engaged with previously who remember what we're doing. I do think that that has a lot to do with it, our value proposition of sticking to social impact causes and not taking on any business that doesn't align with our mission. So when people are thinking about an agency to go to, Better Together Agency is one of those that they keep in mind. Um, I would say also another thing I found is AI and communications is a hard area for organizations to grasp. Um, I don't think that they know that AI isn't going anywhere and that they're going to have to embrace it. And the key way to embrace it is around an agency that knows how to properly use it and not give out slop all the time, knows how to train it on their organization. So I think that's something else that some of the organizations we work with are grappling with. I don't know that they think they can use AI themselves necessarily and get the right outputs, but they don't want the agencies they're working with to use it, which I think is very ignorant, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of AI, I mean, it's in the news a lot lately.
Yeah.
Is it harming the environment because of the big data centers? Is it
Yeah.
out in the wild doing bad things, or all? I mean, there's take your pick, and there's somebody talking about some area of what you can or cannot, or what they believe even. I mean, some of the stuff that you read out there, it's who wrote this?
I know. Yeah, I don't, is it AI? Is it human? Who knows nowadays? Yeah. This is so random, but there was a dog in this Subaru commercial today. And I was like, oh yeah, the dog's AI, but nobody's trying to say that it's not, like people are embracing it. There was an article that Hollywood's been embracing it and they just haven't been saying much about it. Uh, so yeah, it's woven into everything that we're doing. It's just we need to be responsible when we're using it and have governance and recognize biases and all of that when it comes to using it in our businesses.
And so, is that something you also help clients with?
Yeah, amazingly, I've been engaged at AI trainings for organizations and how to incorporate it holistically, not just communications wise, but throughout the organization so that um, they're using the tools properly, they understand when they're using it, when they shouldn't use it, the different elements and setbacks of AI and why we can't trust it completely, and then how all the teams work together from operations, HR, executive team, all of that and how they can still work together and collaborate through AI. So I think more organizations are feeling, okay, I have to do this, so I might as well get trained on how to use it. So yeah, we do. We're very ingrained in AI and how to use it responsibly, as well as building together AI based off the agency to support small businesses and small nonprofits so that they can have a communications team, even if they can't afford an agency. And so we train the tool specifically on them. We provide them with agents and workflows to hopefully develop the communications content that they need. But that's the tool that we use as well internally for what we do, and we know when to use it, when not to use it, and when it's absolutely wrong. It's always also we made it born inclusive, which is what I call it. So it is aware of biases before it gives you the output. And we did that because of our 2 years of surveying consumers on biases in generative AI. So it's like all connected, which I absolutely love. And I won an award recently for AI and innovation. And I was just so like yeah, it was just an amazing feeling to know that how each element of what we're doing is finally being recognized.
That's so cool to win an award and show people that look, there, here's the good side of AI and what it can help you
Yeah.
with. And yeah, there's also a dark side, and I'm going to show you both because I want you to be using this tool responsibly.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like the fact that you're using the same tool in-house as your customers are using, because that kind of makes sure that you're staying on top of is this tool is still doing what it's supposed to be doing,
Right.
because your clients are paying you because they don't know for sure what should it be doing.
Right.
They kind
Yeah.
of have an idea.
Right. I know, and staying on top of all the changes, like I'm kind of overwhelmed with the term AI, it's just like let's just not talk about it for 1 second. But that's never going to happen. But yeah, there's so many updates and things that happen that to stay on top of it, but also to be strategic about what we're adding, because I want these organizations to stick to their missions, to not have to worry about how to create an agent or an automation or anything like that. But that we can do that on the Better Together agency side and help them so they can focus on the mission. And so if we start adding every element of what, a Claude or ChatGPT has, it can get confusing for them. So we want to keep it as straightforward while they can get the best outputs.
And so does the tool help them with you said it basically communication, so it helps them with marketing and email messaging and anything communication related? Is that what your tool helps them with?
Exactly. So like I've created a research manager, content manager, let's see, marketing manager. They all kind of work together in a workflow that I've created for blog posts or LinkedIn content or website copies. So we put in all the information about the organization, who their target audiences are, different personas and voices we created for their key audiences, and then they can use any of those workflows throughout the day for whatever marketing and communications needs they have, as well as like project management. You can prep for a meeting using the media prep workflow. It can connect to, your emails you've talked about with someone so it knows like what to talk about in the meeting prep. So it can be used for a lot of different things, and it can also make workflows for them if there's something in particular they're looking for. But there's about 85 workflows for people to choose from right now. So um, yeah, so there are a lot of them. I don't really even know like what else you would need from a communications plan but there's always something new happening.
Wow, that's amazing to be able to have that all in one place, because I'm like you say, a lot of companies, especially the small ones, they're struggling trying to
Yeah,
figure out how do I get my message out there. They want to do, make their widgets or whatever it is that they're in business to do. And yet they recognize that they need to do all these other things as well in order to get the people in the door, to let the world know that they exist and
right.
say, hey, here I am. And
Yeah,
and you're able to help them with all of that.
yeah, yeah. I'm really, really proud of us and what we've been able to accomplish within the year that we've been working on it. So I feel like it's another differentiator that it also came out of the impetus of we were working with a lot of small nonprofits that, when they give that communications money, it's everything they have. Like it means so much to them to get in the New York Times or something like that. And it's like the money that you're giving is not enough money to pay for employees to do that. And so this was another, I think, opportunity of like, there has to be some way that we can still work with them and they can get what they need while we can get what we need without having, needing a team that large of people. So that was another reason I wanted to do that. And then thinking ahead of, we're with AI, we can kind of get in this bubble of right now and what's changing right now. But in, the 2 to 5 years that people have been saying that if you don't embrace it, you're going, as a company, as a person, you're going to be left behind. And many of the organizations that did embrace it, whether it was slowly or fast or whatever, they're going to be the ones that are more successful. And so I was thinking about that from a company perspective as well when it came to Together AI.
So we've talked a lot about the company and where things are going. Was there a moment, and maybe it was when you ended up with the investors and the whole thing imploded, uh, when you said, "Gee, I really should have my own money."
Is it like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, um, definitely after I never even thought about it before the whole investor situation. I thought, like, this is great, I have a salary, but I guess you put your trust in any employer, that you're going to have that paycheck, and everyone um, getting laid off or fired. And there's so many women I know now who own their own businesses of all different sorts and who are now making their own money. And I just knew that I couldn't depend on others, which is such a horrible thing for me to say in my mind, but I couldn't depend on them to help me run a business. And it needed to be all on me to make it happen. And then the support from, family and friends and things like that. But when it comes to who is actually on the, signed LLC Inc. Documents, it was going to be myself.
So if you had one story to leave with our audience today, what would you say to the woman listening? Would it be you need to have your own money or start your own business, or social impact is the way to go? Is there one theme that you'd like them to get from today's conversation?
Yeah, I know people say this all the time, but forge your own path in that, I did what I thought and what I know is my passion, but really kind of taking the steps of other people might not get you to that place, but there's always something you can learn from the experiences other people had. So really sitting down, thinking about what brings you joy. Like when I worked at those agencies, I was mostly working in ERGs. Like I don't even know that I did that much like billable work, but I knew that that's what I was obviously enjoying. And so I knew I needed to figure out how a way to make that part of my daily life. And I think if you start looking deep into what, like as a woman, as looking forward, you kind of think about what do I wake up for every morning, and how can I turn that either into a side hustle or my full-time job, or how do I incorporate that into what I do for another company. So definitely, I don't think you have to be an entrepreneur or um, make your own money, although I feel like we're all earning it, even if somebody else is paying us, but just kind of looking inside and getting advice from other people on what that next step looks like.
So I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and a huge thank you to Catharine Montgomery for sharing her story and reminding us that it doesn't matter where you are or even what you're doing. Be true to yourself. If you found value in this conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the Empowered Money Girl with your friends. The more we spread these stories, the more women we can empower to live boldly, both financially and in every part of life. Until next time, keep thriving. And remember, your journey to empowerment starts with you.